Hi guys, how are you today? Hope you are doing great and that you're ready for new Ask a Lawyer stories. I have 3 new ones for you today. The first one is about OP's sister, who is shaming OP and her husband because OP's engagement ring doesn't have a diamond. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't be shy to leave a comment. My significant other asked me to marry him while we were visiting my family for the holidays, and the proposal was perfect. He used my grandmother's ring, a simple 14K gold band, no gemstones. I've always loved this ring because of the lifelong marriage and story behind it. My grandfather proposed to my grandmother with it, promising to one day get her the ring she deserved. She accepted, and later, when they were better off financially, he followed through on his word. The latter ring ended up being very extravagant with a very large diamond. While the nicer wedding ring is long gone, the engagement ring was passed down to me by my father as a family heirloom, who, by the way, is super happy that my future husband used it to propose. I am very fond of the fact my grandfather married my grandmother because she loved him, and not due to his financial standing. Through stories and my own father's behavior, I have come to understand that my grandparents were very practical people. I believe this ring is just one example of how they prioritized their marriage. I knew when I got married I wanted this as well, and always liked the idea of following in their footsteps. My future husband told me since he used my grandmother's ring to propose, he would take the money he would have used for a new engagement ring and put it towards something I need a bit more urgently: a car. We would worry about getting a nicer wedding ring when we were more financially stable, just like my grandparents did. I loved the thought he put into this. We are both fond of my grandparents' story, and this felt right to both of us. Begin rant. A few days after my proposal, my sister comes over to my father's place where my future husband and I were staying for the holidays. I excitedly tell her the news. I got engaged. She asks where the ring is. I wasn't wearing it because it was slightly too large and needed to be resized. Pre-engagement, I kept it on a chain around my neck, so I go get it. As I return with the ring, I start telling her about how it was my grandmother's ring. She straight out interrupts me mid-sentence. Where are the diamonds? Again, I start to try and tell her about the ring history, and she interrupts. If he isn't giving you diamonds, what is he doing for you instead? So I try and tell her about our alternative plans with the engagement car. She starts ranting about my ring again. I can't get her to shut up long enough to listen, and in frustration, I half yell at her, he's getting me something else later, and I don't like diamonds. I know for a fact she doesn't know the story behind my grandmother's ring since it is from my father's side of the family. We are half-sisters, same mom. So it made this whole situation even more infuriating. I also have no intention of getting a diamond ring, leaning towards a sapphire, so even if I had the rock now, her complaints wouldn't change. My future husband, of course, finds out about this whole ordeal when he comes up to breakfast. My sister is glaring holes through his head all morning over something I asked him to do. I'm feeling pretty guilty because I felt like my ring got the sentiment ripped out of it, and she pushed me into saying something that made it sound like I am not happy with my engagement ring, when it's just the opposite. I felt bad because I felt like I didn't defend my future husband enough, since I wasn't prepared to be interrogated over my ring that morning. My future husband then mistook my frustration with my sister for me not being happy with the ring. He gets upset because he feels like he messed everything up. I ended up searching "world's most expensive wedding ring" on his phone and showed him how ugly, gaudy, and not me it was. Sorry if you like it. I told him even if he proposed with the world's most expensive ring, I would still take my ring over it. I emphasized I was marrying him for him. This patched things up between us pretty quickly, but didn't stop my sister from glaring holes in his head over the following days, or going on about how my ring didn't fit properly. I later overheard my sister complain that it wasn't fair that I was getting married first, because I was the younger sister. I still haven't decided how to handle things with her, but if she is just behaving out of jealousy, I don't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing she upset me by talking it out of her. This holiday was the first time we had seen each other in years, so I'm very tempted to just cut contact entirely. On the other hand, I feel like that may be a childish reaction on my part. I wanted to go more public with our engagement weeks ago. I was so excited to post a photo of my ring and the story behind it on various social media sites. But now I am worried about the potential backlash that may be directed at my future husband because of my rockless ring. I still love my engagement ring, but reconsidering how to go about announcing the news thanks to my lovely sibling. I think OP should not let her sister ruin her happy moment, and that's exactly what OP's sister is trying to do. She is clearly very jealous that OP is getting married. As she mentioned herself, she is the younger sister and should not be getting married first. And yes, I think OP should go public, telling the story of her grandparents and talking about how much it meant to her, telling everyone how happy she and her future husband are. OP should not let anyone take her love story away from her. Update. I have decided that for now I will give her some space so she can work through her green monster issues. I may open discussion with her later to let her know why her behavior was unacceptable. If she responds poorly, I will unfortunately have to cut her out of this. I don't need negativity in my life. If she responds well, I will put her on an information diet and keep her at an arm's length. We will see how things go. Regardless, thanks to you guys, I am actually no longer upset by her behavior. I shouldn't have let it get to me in the first place. I have decided that I will later be announcing my engagement publicly like I wanted. I really look forward to sharing the happy news and ring story with the different communities in my life. If they aren't supportive, they can hop right off. Let's go to the second story, guys. It's a long one, so listen till the end to hear my insights. A little background to the situation. My parents separated when I was very young. When I was 5, my father remarried. Until my stepbrother was born, his new wife and I got along, and she was always very sweet to me. When I was 11, my mother had to work in a different city, so I started living with my father during the week. At the time I started living there, my father was still working a lot. I now lived rather far from school, so I had to leave early in the mornings, but by that time, he was usually already gone. His wife didn't allow me to eat cereal with milk because the milk was too expensive for me to use. I was to eat my cereal with water, or just like that. When I wanted to eat toast, I was not allowed to use the toaster because I would use the electricity. I was not allowed to use butter. There were different products in the fridge, 2 of each, good and really cheap. The good stuff was for my brother and father. I was only allowed to use the cheap stuff, except on weekends when we would all eat together. I had to make my own breakfast and eat alone in my room, even when she was sitting with my stepbrother at the breakfast table. I never got any food to take to school. When I got home, she and my brother would be sitting at the table eating something she cooked. Guess who could eat dry toast alone in her room? The only proper meal I had was dinner, because by that time, my father was back, and she never let him see the way she treated me when he wasn't around. And even then, she kept making snide remarks, trying to get me to eat less about how fat I was. I was not, but I still have massive issues with my weight. When we went on day trips, we never bought any food. She always packed sandwiches in the morning. Now, I was a rather picky eater, I have to admit, which was to her advantage. She always put stuff in that I didn't want to eat, and then just smiled at me saying, "Well, you have to either eat this or nothing." I have learned that whenever they went on trips without me, they did actually buy stuff, and my brother even got ice cream. So that was just about not wanting me to have anything to eat. There are a couple of instances that I remember after we ran out of water and were still a couple of hours from home, and I was not allowed to buy anything to drink, even though I was begging and miserable. I did not have money of my own, no allowance. I don't travel with them at all anymore, but they always buy stuff these days. So I guess she must also have been thirsty and just enjoyed seeing me suffer for some reason. Until today, my significant other has to force me to buy food or drink while we are traveling and don't have anything because I feel like it's not worth spending the money on myself. I have moved to a different city a while ago, but the few times a year we visit, there is never enough food for everyone, and since my father and brother always get first pick at that house, my significant other and I have to go out and secretly buy some food because telling my father we didn't get enough just upsets him, and he doesn't believe his wife ever treated me badly anyway. OP's father chose to ignore a child asking him for help with an abusive adult simply because he wanted to hold on to his illusion that he was married to the perfect person and love of his life. He then actively chose to call that child a liar and make her feel disbelieved and secondary to the very person who was abusing her. That is so wrong and selfish. In my opinion, he doesn't deserve a relationship with OP. They didn't even care about OP's basic needs and basic rights. I think OP should seriously consider no longer visiting stepmother's house. She is just continuing the old abuse in a new form, and OP's father is continuing to enable it. This can only cause OP further emotional damage. Let's go to the next story, guys, which is about the same stepmother and how she reacted when OP announced her engagement on Christmas Day. This Christmas, significant other and I got engaged. Knowing that my family, more specifically my father, can be weird about all kinds of stuff, and my relationship with his wife is bad, I was afraid she was going to ruin the whole thing. We debated if we should tell them right away on the next day or wait for a time that is less stressful. I can imagine many people know the stress surrounding a family Christmas. We ended up deciding on telling everyone and just getting it over with, mainly because no matter when, it was always going to be an awkward situation. I have a horrible relationship with my father's wife. It's a long story, but she made my life very hard for a while, which led to some other not very nice stuff, and a very stained relationship between me and my father due to him never acknowledging that I was mistreated. We have a relatively good relationship now, but only because we never speak of what happened, or of his wife. Which is not very nice for me, but he cannot accept that his wife ever did anything wrong, and that it wasn't all my fault, which hurts, but it's just something I have come to accept as his belief. The bottom line is, I absolutely hate this woman. The last time we visited them, she made us sleep on the floor next to the door because she wouldn't allow our dog in the apartment. Needless to say, we don't go there anymore. So we arrive at my grandparents' house and everyone comes to greet us, except his wife, who did not even bother to get up from the sofa. We do the usual, "Hello, Merry Christmas" stuff, then I show my father the ring. His first response was, "What is that?" A bit confused about what was so hard to understand about an engagement ring, I said, "What do you think it is?" And when he still had no idea, I said, "It's an engagement ring." The response to this was simply, "Oh." My brother and grandfather were also there and simply said nothing. I had expected some reaction from my father, but since nothing came, the situation just felt so horribly awkward that we just dropped it and didn't speak of it again. During dinner, my grandmother asked to see my ring, so I got up and walked over to show her. She had not seen it earlier because she was busy in the kitchen when we arrived and quickly went back after greeting us. But because of everyone's reaction, I hadn't told her after telling the others. While I go to show her the ring, I see my father's wife rolling her eyes and making a face. Whatever. That is the last time it is mentioned. 2 days later, my father and his wife are about to leave. I am supposed to drive them to the train station. I was upstairs because I had some stuff to do and went downstairs to ask if we should get their stuff packed in the car. My father gives me a very serious look and says, "Can you do me a huge favor? Show my wife your ring." I was taken aback. Keep in mind, the engagement was not mentioned since the first day, and literally nobody had bothered to congratulate us. So I simply said, "She didn't ask." He then looked at me with the expression of a disappointed child who had just been told ice cream is not an acceptable dinner choice, and told me that he talked to my significant other, and he would explain, and my grandfather was going to drive them to the train station. I was angry. I turned around and went back upstairs because I needed to be somewhere else. My significant other came up a few minutes later and told me, apparently, she was sitting in her room crying because she feels like she is not part of the family and I am being too mean to her. The only thing that annoys her is that this was the first time I did not do everything possible to keep everyone else happy. But this was something that was ours. In the past, it was one thing putting my own feelings aside to please everyone. But it's not just about me now, and I won't have her and her hatred pollute our life moving forward. So I am done accommodating her with anything regarding my relationship. Significant other also said not to show her the ring because my father is trying to bully me into it. For a bit of context, every time a situation gets tense, it falls to me to do something and to fix it. He did not once consider his wife should maybe just ask me or come to me and congratulate me. Everything always needs to come from me, and it's exhausting. Especially since I only tolerate her to not make things difficult. Before they leave, my father comes upstairs, looks at me and says, "You couldn't do me this one favor," then turned around and leaves. So, I get engaged, no one congratulated me, and I am the a-hole for not running after someone who I know has no interest in me or my life. I really don't understand, guys, why OP is still keeping in contact with these people. Maybe she feels that she doesn't have the right to make demands or set boundaries. She possibly felt so desperate for love and approval, she was scared of losing what little her father was giving her. OP does not deserve that treatment and should not allow them to treat her like that. OP's father is a spineless coward, and his wife is a manipulative and horrible human being. I really hope OP won't be inviting them to her wedding. At least, definitely not the stepmother. This happened last year, but with Thanksgiving around the corner and family discussions about who's going to host it this year, the hurt is resurfacing. My sister-in-law and brother, who live a few hours away, decided to host Thanksgiving. Her grandmother was declining fast, and it was likely going to be her last Thanksgiving. The grandmother lives with my sister-in-law's mother, who is very much just no. Her mother is very unfriendly, has no friends, hates everyone, and is extremely self-absorbed. Plans were made to drive to their home. Hotel reservations were made. Other family was making the several-hour drive as well. Then the drama starts. Sister-in-law's mother is upset she invited our family to join her family and demanded that she uninvite all of us. All hell broke loose between sister-in-law and her mom. Her mom then threatened to not come if we did, and sister-in-law knew very well her grandmother wouldn't come if her mom didn't. It was important to her that her grandmother come, since she didn't have long. Her mom's reason for all this? You know I don't like being around a lot of people. It's just the way I am. After much arguing and crying, her mom decided that she would offer a compromise. The family can come, but not me and my kids. Now, I've only ever seen this woman a handful of times, and I have never had anything other than pleasant interactions with her. She said the three of us just made it too many people for her comfort. Keep in mind, they have a huge house, about 3,000 square feet, and plenty of room for all 11 of us to enjoy a meal together. Yes, it really was just 11 people. So then the text came, just come around 1 p.m. That way, we will be finished with the meal and she will be getting ready to leave anyways. If there's any leftovers, y'all can have them. Yeah, so I was told that me and my children were to wait and come after our family was done having Thanksgiving dinner, then come have their leftovers. That was a big hell no. I then said we would just stay home and do our own thing. Sister-in-law wasn't happy with that because she figured the rest of our family would decide not to come too when they learned why we canceled. Then it suddenly became me that was causing issues. Drama and hurt feelings continued. She ended up having 2 Thanksgiving meals so her mom could have one and there can be a second one that we can attend that her mom didn't have to. The second we walked in the door, her mom jumped up, grabbed what's left of the pie she brought, and took off. B, I'm eating the homemade from scratch pies my mom brought, not your store-bought, from the freezer section pie. Duck you. It all worked out, I guess, and I do understand they were put in a really bad position by her mom that was very stressful and hurtful to navigate around. But having my brother and sister-in-law even suggest something that made me feel so disrespected and disposable as a family member, it still hurts to this day. There is no way I would have went to that dinner, guys. I realize she was put in a tough spot, but that's just disrespectful, offering OP the leftovers. I would make my own meal, which would probably be more enjoyable. But I do respect that OP went.